Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Daze and welcome to this Raw opinions and review video. So much to talk about. This was the second week that Raw was on Netflix and it was so much better than week one. Week one was all show. It was just a false facade, right? We had star power, but what did those stars do? We had Undertaker, but what did he do? He came down to the ring, put his arm in the air, and then drove away. We had The Rock come out and completely throw away the final boss character, right? We had Hulk Hogan come out, get booed out the building, right? I mean, honestly, we had star power in week one, but it was not good. This week, we got substance. This week, we still had some star power. We had CM Punk and Seth open the show, for example. We had Bayley, we had Rhea Ripley, right? We had star power, maybe not the same level as week one, but this week we had better kind of stories, we had development, we had backstage segments, we had just really good episode, a really good episode of Monday Night Raw. This is the sort of episode that I would like for people to watch, and if you liked it, come back again next week. If you watched that first week and you was like brought in because it's The Rock and you brought in because John Cena was on the show and it was the names that grabbed you, then, you know, that's fine, but that's not going to be a normal week, is it? What we had here was a normal week, and I thought the standard was really good. Was so much better than week one. So much better. So, yeah, let's go down the match scores. I'll then talk as we're going through. I want to get to your comments, though, right? So, Penta against Chad, great, 81%. Penta looked great. I thought the start was a bit off. He tried to do a leg drop when he bounced off, I think it was the bottom rope, and he didn't seem to get enough height on it. So that seemed to just be a little off. There was a pin as well where Penta was being pinned. He didn't seem to get his shoulder up quick enough, so the ref went 1, 2, and then he had a choice to make. I either count 3, and this is going to be a really bad debut for Penta, or I do the old, I'm just checking your shoulder, is that down? So he went 1, 2, is that down? And then Penta was able to get his shoulder up. So I sort of feel like that could have gone south. That could have been a disaster. I don't know if that was a planned spot or if the ref kind of saved the situation, but there just seemed to be several things at the start of the match that just seemed to be a little bit off. Chad was fantastic. Chad is just like a walk-in textbook. If you want to know how a German suplex should look, just watch one of Chad's. If you want to know how an arm drag should look, just watch Chad's arm drag. I mean, like, everything he does is textbook. It's exactly as it should be. It's so crisp. It's so good. So yeah, when this match clicked and they started like really like working, I was really impressed. And Penta selling as well, really selling his knee and digging deep, getting the crowd on board. I mean, yeah, just really good, really good. Not what I was expecting. I've said before, I've watched AEW, I've watched Penta, I've seen him with Phoenix against the Young Bucks, and it was just move. I didn't think there was much in the way of selling. I just felt like I was watching this endless parade of moves. You know, there might be a moment where they'll sell some, and then they're just right back. With this match, he was really putting over like his injuries, and he wasn't like letting up on them. I was really impressed. Honestly, I thought he did a great job. So 1 week down, many more to go, but we're off to a great start. Presentation was great as well, and I thought it was good having his family there. And the crowd was so into him. I really thought he was going to come out and it would be, you know, nice applause. Some would know him and it would be like, okay, let's go, new superstar. But no, I mean, it was quite passionate with signs, and I don't know where Lucha Underground was filmed. I feel like it was California, and I don't know if he's competed in that area quite a bit, but people knew him. People had signs for him. It felt like the flipping Penta fan club was out in force. It was It was way better than I expected, and I was genuinely impressed. Ludwig versus Sheamus, good 97%. It was fine, and it looks like we're going to get Sheamus Braun at Saturday night's main event, so that's exciting. Lyra, Dakota, loved this match. I really enjoyed it. It was short. It didn't outstay its welcome. Had some big spots. Loved that suplex, which ended up going to the outside relatively early in the match, which brought me in. Sometimes I need a spot like that or something early that just grabs me. Otherwise, I'm just sort of watching it and just, watching them go through the motions and I'm not quite in. But when you do a spot like that, I'm there, I'm in, I'm watching, oh my God. And I just really enjoyed it. I thought both women played their part excellently. Both brought their A games. I wouldn't have minded either way that it went. I have no problems with Lyra winning. I like Lyra. As everyone knows, I've been a Lyra fan for quite a while. Certainly since she came into NXT. And I'm really pleased. And what was great is that this is a history-making match. We will look back on this match. People in the future will talk to each other about who was the first women's champ, and they'll ask that as a quiz question, and they'll go back to this Raw, and I feel like we've watched something significant, so very cool. Sami Miz, I was really pleased Sami won clean. Damian Finn, really good street fight. So Sami Miz, good 97. Damian Finn, great 77. So third favourite match was Lyra Dakota. As you said, second match was Damian Finn main event, but your favourite match as a community was Penta versus Chad. Great 81%. WYATT 6 going to SmackDown is the big talking point for our community. And honestly, I've got two thoughts. My first thought is this is good because they can go to SmackDown, they'll have more room to breathe, and I think a lot of the big names are going over to Raw. Raw on Netflix. They want all the big names. That's going to give WYATT 6 room to breathe. I don't mind that. That's fine. But it's just that they've not finished this feud with Final Testament. That's the frustration. If they'd have finished the feud with Final Testament first, we would be in a much different position. This would be a much different conversation. But the fact that we've got the WYATT 6, who are all about righting wrongs, standing up for those that need someone to stand up for them, all of that stuff. And now they've just been told you've got to go to SmackDown, and they've gone, okay. Think of the history between Miz and Bo, and think of the fact that the Miz was captured and then, attacked the WYATT 6 after they released him. Think of all of that stuff that's gone down, and now all of a sudden they're just going off to SmackDown. No closure. We're just going to SmackDown. It is bonkers. I can't defend that. The only thing I can say is going to SmackDown's fine. I just wish it had happened after the feud had concluded, and I expect to see a lot of people saying similar, to be honest. But yeah, look, for me, this is 825, loads of positive stuff to talk about here, loads of announcements, loads of bits of news. Liv and Dominic, their relationship in a different place now. She seems off with him, even though she's not off with him. Throwing the flowers to Carlito, telling Dominic to go and get the bags. I feel like we could see more of that in the coming weeks, so a change in their relationship. Matches made for Saturday night's main event. People announcing they're going to be in the Rumble. Matches made for next week, like Seth versus Drew. New Day returning next week as well. And I think as well, there's no reason why we can't repeat this every week, this show. Not exactly the same, but the format of this. It sort of feels like we've watched a really good Raw, and I can't see why we can't do it again next week or the week after or the week after. And I like how they've announced JBL for next week. I wasn't expecting that. Just random legend coming in. I like that. Some people might not be down with JBL, might not be too keen on him, but I don't know, once a month, something like that, we bring in a legend. That would be awesome. So, yeah, there's a lot to be excited about. So, I liked it. 8 to 8.25. Right, let's get to your thoughts. Daniel said 10 out of 10. Penta's match was insane. He's such a perfect fit for WWE. I think Dakota Kai could get into a serious feud with Lyra. And if Io had shown up during Rhea Ripley's promo, it would have made my night even better. Triple H needs to make Io versus Penta match happen. I'm talking full Lucha Underground vibes. Tonight's 4 big matches were total bangers. Well, personally, I'm not a fan of intergender matches. We don't do that in UFC. We don't do that in boxing. We don't do that in like combat sports. And I know this is sports entertainment. And I know that intergender matches happen on the indie scene, but it's not something I've got an appetite for, and seemingly not something WWE have much of an appetite for either. We have done the odd one in the past, but they tend to be, you know, female wrestler against jobber, really. Not something that would be as competitive as Io Penta, so not for me, but appreciate the comment all the same, Daniel. Skelly Doja Dog said, show was 7 out of 10. Penta was the highlight. Dakota was robbed. Lyra did not need the dub. Not sure how I feel about the WYATT SICKS going to SmackDown. Red Razor said, honestly, I thought it was a good show. Not a great show, though. Penta was amazing. Happy Lyra won the IC title, but would have been happy either way. Finn Damian was an insane match. All in all, I'll say a 6.5 or a 7. Have a good one. Ashley said, I don't really know what difference SmackDown will make. I'm wondering if they're trying to just phase them out. I don't think so. I think they're just trying to get them out of the bright lights of Raw on Netflix with all these stars. Just get them to a place where there's a bit more breathing room. We won't forget them. Raw was better this week. Definitely room for improvement. Cracker Barrel Witch said, us WYATT SICKS fans, we need to start organising and demanding better for them like we did Cody. Don't just move them to another show in the middle of a feud without at least a QR code or something. I am livid. Hashtag give us WYATT SICKS, says Cracker Barrel Witch. Do you know what? That might happen. I think just reading the room and seeing what I've seen so far, I feel like there's a quiet optimism of people that are like, this could be good for them. This might work. Them going to SmackDown could be a change of scenery, a breath of fresh air. This could be decent for them. So there's a lot of frustration, but there's a little optimism around. I think if their SmackDown feud, their first feud on SmackDown, is going to be a repeat of Final Testament feud or American Made feud, I think then people will start to get like, I'm ready to riot now, you know? There's only so long you can go, no, it's going to get goods. It's going to get goods. You know, the Chad Gable American Made feud, it's been pointed out. I think I saw Kelly the Wise Lady talking about it, about how Chad's just gone back to being awful. He didn't change. He didn't learn anything. And, you know, he ended up having a match with Otis just the other week. So, like, what actually changed? What did they achieve? They didn't actually achieve anything. So that first feud, it's very hard to deem it a success. You can't deem this Final Testament feud a success because, well, I mean, they've abandoned it. They've been moved in the middle of it. And very frustrating. Howdy just went missing. And we don't know where. I mean, maybe we will find out. But yeah, I get the frustration. I really, really do. I feel like people are just going to wait and see how this plays and what that first feud on SmackDown looks like. And then they'll riot. Wrestling's biggest fan said they should have ended the story first. It's a complete fumble. Fiend824 said, I'm not seeing anything about the WYATT SICKS being moved. Where are you seeing this? It was a comment by Karrion Kross on Raw. Wrestling fans since day one said Drew, Seth, CM Punk promo was okay. Chad Gable against Penta was a really great match. Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser was good. Jey Uso, yeet. Dakota Kai versus Lyra Valkyria was great. Sami versus Miz match was quick but good. Bayley versus Rhea, need that match. Finn versus Damian was all-time match. I think Alexa's goodbye was her saying goodbye to her old character and Lily. That would make sense. That would make sense. Her saying goodbye to the past and then putting a picture out of her going, shall I bring the pink back and all this? You know, maybe it was goodbye. Goodbye to, you know, where she's been and now she's coming back goddess or something like that. It absolutely could be. Raw was amazing. 9 out of 10, really great. WYATT 6 on SmackDown. To be honest, I don't know how I feel about that. It's a little weird. Penta's debut was amazing. Can't wait to see his next match. Good night. Good night, buds. Joseph said, so who do they target on SmackDown? Well, the rumour for the longest time was Judgment Day. So I don't know if we're going to move Judgment Day over. We know that Dominic was talking to Nick Aldis. So it feels like there's going to be some movement. I mean, we're in the middle of a transfer window. So you can't really sit and look at the SmackDown roster and like have any sort of conversation because we just don't know who's moving where. So I'm actually sitting here thinking Judgment Day is going to be the play, is going to be the feud. But I can't guarantee that because we don't know how the roster's going to shake out. Bia said it was a great Raw. WYATT 6 to SmackDown is a dub. Sam said, I'd like to end the feud, but them moving to SmackDown means they'll have more screen time, and I'm all for it. This week's episode of Raw blows last week's Shiz show out the water. Last week was for the casuals, but this week was for the real fans. 9 out of 10. Mitchell said, honestly, I loved it. The matches were incredible. Penta's debut was awesome. So it gets a solid 8 from me. We don't get many episodes like this. It felt very black and gold era. I honestly am gutted for the WYATT 6 fans, though. I hope WWE hasn't given up on them. I really don't think they've given up on them. I don't get that vibe. They've seemingly given up on this feud, though, so... right, Emmanuel said, love to see some of those moves crossing over to WWE. I'm surprised how good his English was. So this is Penta. Lyra, Dakota, 10 out of 10. The only match I came into Raw caring about, and it didn't disappoint. She truly deserves it. Way to go, Lyra. First ever IC champ. Miz, Sami, 2 out of 10 if I'm being honest. The fact they announced the Wyatts being on SmackDown right before this match upset me, and it did carry over into the match. Priest Finn, 2 out of 10. Very predictable. Starting to get about as tired of this feud as I was the Rhea Liv feud, and same as that one, the wrong person won. Manuel, thank you. Michael said, sorry, but 2 weeks and I hate them on Netflix. All we heard about being on USA was no time for everyone. But you have 4 matches first night, 5 tonight, and you're now on a platform that's willing to give you time you need and want. That is true. They could have had longer and they could have got the WYATT 6 on the show. And I can't answer why they didn't do it. The only thing I can think is they're not available for some reason. I don't know. Or they just didn't plan to have them. They didn't. Maybe it was meant to go 3 hours and it ended up going to 35, but I don't think that's true. Triple H has commented in the back. In the past, he thinks the perfect Raw length is about 2.5 hours. And now here we are, week 2 with a 2.5 hour show. So I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Jazza said the debut for Penta went perfectly. Ajadkar said Raw was awesome. It's probably a fantastic move for the WYATT 6 because SmackDown don't have good tag teams. Maybe Rowan and Dexter Lumis against DIY would be good. Watson said, Daze, I want to give you some fun predictions for 2025. PS Raw was awesome. Damian and Bad Bunny tag team champs, Becky and Lyra, women's tag champs, Jacob Fatu's going to pin Roman, celeb cameos, Mr. Beast, member of Stranger Things cast, and Donald Trump. Watson, thank you. Christopher said, thought it was much better than last week. My dad made a comment about the drone and said, watch Logan pay the operator to drop him the brass knuckles. I'll try anything once. Said, genuinely, there isn't a payoff big enough. Not even Bliss joining the faction, which she said she wouldn't, that can justify how Triple H has killed all Wyatt Six momentum. It sucks because no one cares anymore. And even the diehards are losing interest. It's the biggest fumble ever. Wow. Paul said, Wyatt's stuff is stupid. I hate this transfer window. Do a draft. Second week in a row where no heels win a match, which is ludicrous. Amazing wrestling, though, so 8 out of 10 from me. Ben said, feel like the group has really cooled off since Raw went down to 2 hours. The hype and anticipation just kind of disappeared for me as time went on. And this feels like they had no end game for this final Testament feud. Jazz said, much better show this week. Bit strange how some promos were during commercials, but felt more like a show. 9 out of 10. To be honest, I don't think those promos and interviews during commercials are anything you need to worry about. I think they are additional. I think that if we were on USA, we wouldn't get them. They are just there because in some places we don't go to commercial breaks, so they need to air something. So they're just thinking, well, if we've got to air something, we might as well. Here's the New Day. Here's Rey Mysterio. And we'll ask a few questions. But things they say are so throwaway. There's nothing that's shocking or really advances any story. It's very reminiscent of the sort of interviews they used to do on Raw Talk, which no sign of that tonight, which was kind of interesting. So don't know what the future of that is. Bean said Raw was pretty solid. Now, moving the Wyatt Six makes no sense to me because, one, we didn't get the final showdown that was looming. Two, SmackDown is eventually going to go back to 2 hours. Then what? The same thing that happened when Raw was 2 hours. It's a good point. SmackDown is expected to go back to 2 hours in May or June. So that could then become a problem. Harry said, Daze, I don't know about you, but Penta's debut showed why Tony Khan really did drop the ball with him because, my God, Penta was made for WWE. I think they did a great job with his presentation, and I thought, yeah, it was really, really good. Really good. Did he drop the ball with him? Yeah, probably. Probably. But I don't think he's the only one that's the ball has been dropped on over in AEW. But listen, that's for them, isn't it? Lawson said, honestly, the best thing about the show was the main event. But way too short, in my opinion, unless Finn was actually injured. Gutted about the Wyatt Six, but it could give them a push. And I can't wait for the Royal Rumble. Walter said Raw was excellent. Not going to lie, it took some of the spark off with the offhand comment from Carrion about that move to SmackDown for the Wyatt Six. Ending the feud empty is trash. My initial thoughts when Howdy went missing list is that it was all too much for Bo, and this might be a sign of it. Oh, really? You think that could be a reason? It's just a bit too much for him. Slam X, hello my friend, said Wyatt Six news dampened the mood on what was otherwise a decent episode. I'm optimistic about possible storylines on SmackDown, but whether or not they'll actually happen is a tough one to predict right now. Slam X, shout out to you, buds. Does great work on X. Crimson said Raw was better than the first one, but the Wyatt Six are dead. Sean Mack said weird time to end Raw. I know there's no required time limit, but still, Wyatt's on SmackDown doesn't make sense. They're supposed to be more like an entity, meaning they go where they please. Who do they feud with? Well, I don't think they've ever been on SmackDown. I think that they are just a Raw group, actually. I think they've kind of agreed to just stay on Raw. So now they've been like moved over to SmackDown. I'm okay with that part. It's just them going in the middle of a feud. As we said, you know, they've got issues with Miz that go way, way back. Issues with the Final Testament. And it's like they've just been told you need to go to SmackDown now. And they've gone, yeah, okay. Well, actually, they've probably gone, well, we don't know where Uncle Howdy is anyway. So, okay. He's going to come back and be like, right, I'm back. I've been on vacation for 3 months in Thailand. Have I missed anything? And they'll be like, well, we agreed to go to SmackDown. And he'll be like, what? You agreed to what? So, who do they feud with? We need to get through this transfer window. Chris said matches 7 out of 10. Wyatt's move is beep. They are just not finishing another story. Raw over half an hour early. The score of the show 3. Very disappointed with both Netflix shows. Neither have impressed. I don't think you should look at it being half an hour early. I think between 2.5 hours to 3 hours is going to be what they're going to look to end at now. I think that there's no guarantee Raw is going to make 3 hours on a consistent basis. Triple H in an interview said 2.5 is what he thinks is the sweet spot, but you know, he's going to just let things play, and if it goes to 3, that's absolutely fine. So, yeah, I don't know that it's... I don't know. I get where you're coming from, but I don't know that it's ended early, because I think this is going to be what we're going to see on like a consistent basis. William said there was great in-ring matches, but very short on story progression. Still seems very promotional with so much Rumble and Saturday Night talk. Very frustrating to see the WYATT SICKS moved before finale with Carrion. Had such a multifaceted build going, and now it's just done. And then to cut the show 30 minutes short just makes you wonder if we're going backwards. Well, we answered that short thing. Callum said, really enjoyed it, but really disappointed with no Wyatts. The only positive with them going to SmackDown is hopefully more TV time. Penta debut really enjoyed. Happy for Lyra. Definitely better than last week's Raw. Hope you enjoyed it. I did. Mark said, as I predicted, WYATT SICKS has been a huge failure. Doesn't work without Bray. A bunch of mid-carders at best, with their lame hocus-pocus, and the writers having absolutely no idea how to slot them into storylines. Get them off TV. They're lame, and they offer absolutely nothing. Well, I disagree. I think the creative has been bad. I don't think they have hocus-pocus. They're not supernatural. And I think that they are just in need of like a consistent creative, which other people seem to get, but they don't seem to get. I don't know why they've not been given it. I mean, they're a group. It's easy for them to come out and do what groups do what factions do. And it's not like we're struggling to find a faction for them. We've had 2 now, and they've been in feuds with them. And I don't know why we've stretched it over such a long period of time. Why could we not have, why didn't we just debut them later in the year? Why debut them in June if you had 2 feuds for them? Why did you bring them in June? Why didn't you bring them in August? And then these 2 feuds that we've just done, you could have got through them, like they could have been a bit tighter rather than being so stretched out. So I can't blame the WYATT SICKS for that. I can't blame them for that. That's not their fault. Like the creative and the way that they're being used, that's not their fault. So they're going to move over to SmackDown. Hopefully this is going to be better from a storyline point of view. I'm not giving up on them. I don't have a reason to give up on them, because I think it would be different if we were seeing them and it just wasn't working. But when we get their promos and their vignettes and, when they do their entrances, like, it's good and people are into it. So I feel like when they get chance to show what they can do, they do well. It's just they have not had the support of creative. It's very frustrating. Ross said they killed the WYATT SICKS. There's no momentum. There's no TV time. And now no one cares as much. Way to fumble a guaranteed bag. Las Vegas Matt said, going to sound bad, but this felt like the least cared about Raw in a long time. 2 weeks in a row were promised New Day versus Ray and a mystery partner. And it doesn't happen. Seth Drew Punk took 20 minutes to declare for the Rumble. WYATT SICKS moved to SmackDown. Love Penta, though. 3, says Las Vegas Matt. Gina said, I thought it was an 8. I'm going to reserve judgment on the move to see if there's a reason. I believe there's a reason for everything. And WYATT SICKS post tonight alluded to such. Trust in the process. Wyndham taught me that. Brian said Friday on SmackDown, they'll announce they've been moved to NXT. Kapata said, I absolutely love the show tonight. 9 out of 10. If this is what an every week Raw looks like, then I'm down. My favourite moment was the fact that Michael acknowledged every company except AEW on Penta's return. JDS said, I love Punk Seth Drew promo. Seems like unfinished business for them. I wish Rhea had more time talking about her next steps going forward. Penta absolutely smashed it. Wyatt's moving to SmackDown. Maybe preparing for Alexa return, but the show 8.5. Fitzy said tonight's Raw was a huge step up from last week, and it was refreshing to see matches were all great. Not crazy about the Wyatts being moved. Should have finished current storyline first. Mike said they really brought all of Bray's legacy into a storyline for the Wyatts to sit at home and do nothing. Good show this week, though. Samantha said, I enjoyed Penta. They should have ended the story first, so I don't care for them moving to SmackDown. Also, 2 hours, 30 minutes is whack, especially for being the second episode on Netflix. I'm going to give it a 6. Carter said, great show, but Finn should have won. They're just burying him at this point. Sean said, I personally thought this Raw was more well-paced than last week. As for the WYATT SICKS, they should have at least finished their storyline before moving them, unless this is still part of it. Casey said, congrats to Lyra on becoming the first women's IC title winner. WYATT SICKS moving to SmackDown is really confusing. Why not finish what was started with Final Testament? Hopefully this is the reset for them and they can get back onto TV more. Rave said seeing Penta was great. Looking forward to seeing more. No WYATT SICKS tonight. This move to SmackDown better be worth it. Finn Balor got buried yet again, and I predicted Lyra winning. 5 out of 10 show for me as a fan of Finn and the Wyatts. Nita Nitro said pacing was amazing. I appreciate all the interviews and backstage segments instead of commercials. Matches were solid tonight, and the 2.5 hours was perfect. Where the Wyatts are concerned, I'm just confused. No blow off, no real info. It's unfair, bad treatment so far. Kian said, I thought that Raw was an amazing show tonight. Penta's debut delivered perfect without any botch. The women's IC title match was great, with Lyra getting the win. That was the right move for her. Punk Rollins McIntyre segment was good. Rest of the show, main event, great. Rumble is stacked, 7.5. Alex said, great Raw. Penta's debut was fire. Lyra winning was fire. Sheamus winning was fire. Rhea's promo was boring. I think we got hints of a Bayley heel turn, and Street Fight was fire. I wish we'd gotten something after the match involving the Judgment Day, 8.25. Mackenzie said 8 out of 10, amazing. Penta's debut, congrats to Lyra winning. I feel like this is what Raw will be every week. Wyatt's moving to SmackDown. Could we see Howdy against LA Knight? I don't think so, because that would be face against face. Dexter and Gacy against DIY. We could get that if DIY don't move, because of the history with Dexter and Johnny, yes. Duke's Wrestling said, I was really glad this felt more like a normal Raw this week. And after that opening segment, my excitement for the Rumble is off the charts. Daze, does this move mean the final showdown that was advertised between the SICKS and Final Testament is just forgotten about? Well, it does feel that way. It does feel that way. It does feel like plans have changed. So I don't think we're getting that final showdown. There's been no announcement of it. I mean, there was no announcement we were getting it on Raw. There's no announcement we're getting it next week. So if this move to SmackDown, which has been announced, is happening, then I've got to think, yeah. Unless the Final Testament get moved as well. But, yeah, change of plans. Matthew said, I thought Raw was good, and congrats on Lyra winning the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And since the WYATT SICKS moved to SmackDown, I predict that Alexa Bliss will stay on Raw and go back to the goddess gimmick. Gio the Theo, shout out to you, buds, said the Raw episode was very enjoyable as someone that was in the audience, especially the street fight match, although I am quite disappointed Dakota didn't win the IC title. But here is my photo from tonight. Gio the Theo, shout out to you, buds. Dr. Jean said a rubber match done. Happy to see Priest win. I wonder if the WYATT SICKS will end up going after Bianca and Naomi if it comes out that they were behind Jade Cargill's attack. I am totally ready to go to San Antonio. Yeet. Wrestling XFR said, great show tonight. I think Penta's debut was great. Few good segments including Punk, Drew and Seth. Gunther and Jay segment also was good. Main event was fire. WYATT SICKS moving to SmackDown isn't a bad move, although they did fumble the end of the story with Final Testament. I still think they might come to an end of that story, though. Great stream. Thanks, Wrestling XFR. Shout out to you, buds. I want to get a couple more. I want to get these done, have a look at the score, right? Taylor said, WYATT SICKS never defeated Final Testament, which makes the transfer seem early, but WYATT SICKS interrupting Solo Sikoa this Friday could cook. Luke04 said, ass, completely ass. At least finish the story first before you move them to SmackDown. Triple H slowly starting to be garbage like Vince. What Judgment can even do now? Why Finn Balor jobbing to Priest again? Jay Gunther for the billionth time. They trade WYATT SICKS for Nia Jax. I think they said that Nia Jax wasn't confirmed to be over. I mean, she might come over, but we don't know that she is yet. Let's finish here. Look. So tonight's Raw on SmackDown was good. Matches were great, and it was fire to see Penta on Raw. I really don't understand why the WYATT SICKS got moved to SmackDown. That's just a huge mistake. Raw is losing the best group ever to debut on Raw, so I will rate it an 8. Shout out to you. Wyatt's a buried, said Real Wrestling Fan, and Henry said it was a massive show that was amazing. The women's IC title match should have been the main event, really. I don't know why they moved the WYATT SICKS now. It's pointless. SmackDown is 2 hours in a few months. They won't put on the show, so send them to NXT. 9 out of 10. That was so good. John Elite said, love Penta's debut. Is it just me, or did his match have botches? At the start, yes. Interesting that WYATT SICKS moved to SmackDown now. Jay Gunther, Saturday night's main event. Enjoyed the main event. Right, here we go. Let's go over, get the scores. We've stuck around a little longer than usual, which I don't mind doing at all, because this was one that I really did want to get some extra thoughts on. But you can see people seem to really enjoy it. Obviously, we need to get a lot more. We actually got 1,300 votes for SmackDown on Friday. We won't get to those levels, but it seems like SmackDown was not well received at all. This show, much better. Much better. Undeniably, this is going to come out in that great range. So 2% said it was bad. 14 were like, nah, it was okay, it was good. great 68%, 15% saying all time. So there we go. That was our Raw review and opinions video. So thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for all the feedback. Apologies to those we didn't get to, but the feedback was just so much. It seems like there's so many thoughts out there. And don't forget, we will be back tomorrow with our NXT stream, and we will be starting 2 hours before. So if I didn't get to your thoughts and comments here, there's a good chance I'll get to them there. So thanks for watching. Appreciate the support. Bye for now.